Hello, crafty friends. It's Elisa from Paisley Papyrus. I'm back to show you all of the cool cards that I used from my last video where I showed you 8 different techniques that you can use with your festive foliage background stamp to make different types of cards. So here we go. Card number 1. We had stamped it on Paisley Papyrus, that's me. We stamped it on Pear Pizzazz using Versamark ink, which gave it a nice little watercolor. Now for this one, I lifted the panel, I cut the panel down to size, lifted the panel up with pop dots. I used our, hold on, I made myself notes. I used our metallic mesh ribbon, and then I covered that with our pale papaya open weave ribbon, and then I used our ornate frame dies, and I used our Inspired Thoughts stamp set for my sentiment here. And I like the non-traditional colors. Now if you followed along with my Tasteful Library, you know that this is a set that I recommended because it can cover so many different things. It's a fantastic set, and this has 2 stamps in it that I have used for Christmas in this little collection. Now the second one I did is the exact same as the last one with the exact same elements all the way around, but this one used Pear Pizzazz ink instead of the Versamark ink. Let me hold them side by side for you so you can compare the difference. This one is a more subtle watercolor ink, and this one is a darker ink that you can see a little bit more vividly. So A or B? Comment below. Tell me which one you like better. A, the watermark. B, the Pear Pizzazz on Pear Pizzazz. So let me know what you think about that. I love this ribbon here because it gives you this background element on below your sentiment without really distracting from anything. So it's just nice and light, and I absolutely love that ribbon. So the next card, this one was, let's see my notes, this was Festive Foliage in Stays On, and I colored it in with watercolor pencils. I went over that with you last time, and then I used that blender pen to blend those colors in to fill in the spaces. Then I used, and the pencils that I used were Garden Green and Granny Apple Green. And then this one is on vanilla cardstock in case you can't tell, and I decided to use my Stitch So Sweetly dies to cut out my sentiment, and I went with the non-traditional color of what's this color called? Flirty Flamingo. Yes, Flirty Flamingo on those Stitch So Sweetly dies. And then this is our Gilded Gems, and then our fine art ribbon is down here behind it as well. And that sentiment also comes from our Inspired Thoughts stamp set. So this one is right down here, and the other sentiment that you saw was right up here. So that's 2 sentiments in this Inspired Thoughts. Again, I recommended it in a different series that I'm doing in my Tasteful Library series. So if you want to check that out, you'll see more of that stamp set over there as well. Next, this one I used Heartfelt Wishes. Now this is the only stamp set that I did not use from the annual catalog. Everything else came from the annual catalog except this one. And I love it for this scripted font that they use for all of these. It's Heartfelt Wishes, and it can be sending love for Valentine's, much gratitude for a thank you card, happy holidays and Merry Christmas, and cheers for a Happy New Year, and from our family to yours, this wondrous season, heartfelt wishes, all that good stuff. So it's a really great set. I love it, love it, love it. Now for this one is the card where I stamped in evergreen ink, and I used my blender pen to sort of smear that ink to color in those leaves. Then I took a piece of vellum and I laid it over top of it, and I adhered it down right behind this strip right here, and then I stamped Merry Christmas from that sentiment set in Evening Evergreen as well, and then just added simple rhinestones at the end. I love the simplicity of this card, but it is so elegant and stunning in person. So that is a fantastic card in my humble opinion. So that was another stamp set that I recommended in that Tasteful Library series. Now this one, the sentiment comes from Banner Year, which is also in the annual catalog. It's great because it has everything from Halloween to Happy Fall, Christmas, Thanksgiving, treats for Valentine's Day, and then it has these cute little elements down here that you can make for tags and things. But I just used the Christmas Wishes sentiment, and I used a little piece of paper from our Tidings of Christmas designer series paper that is in our annual catalog. And I ran that across the bottom and stamped that in cherry cobbler. And this rhinestone is actually just a plain rhinestone, and I used my cherry cobbler alcohol blends marker to color the rhinestone in order to make it the right color for my card. And I think that one is lovely. This one was the alcohol ink on the Memento Black, stamped in Memento Black on white and colored in with alcohol markers. So that's that card. I love it. It was fun to color, and I recommend that. I love the banner year as well. So all of these stamp sets, other than that Heartfelt Wishes one, can be found in the annual catalog. My next sentiment comes from A Wish for Everything, and this one's great because you can do Happy Halloween, Happy Birthday, Happy Anniversary, Happy Mother's Day. It's a mix and match set that's awesome, and you can also buy the dies that go with it. So it's a timeless set that you'll use a million times. But on the back, it's one of two, but I combine them all into one. But the other great thing about this is it has a few sentiments that you can put on the inside of a card, or in my case, the outside of a card. And I used A Merry Little Wish for lots of joy this season. Again, another set that I encouraged you to consider in my Tasteful library. So that's the set that this sentiment came from. Now this is the card where I stamped it in evergreen ink, and I colored it in with the Wink of Stella pen. I'm not sure if the camera is picking up the glitter on that, but it is really beautiful in person. Now the really cool thing about this one is I ran some of our Terran tape across the bottom and then dipped it in the silver embossing powder and heat embossed that to make my little strip. And then underneath it, if the camera isn't picking it up, I also ran my Wink of Stella pen underneath it for a little extra glitter and sparkle, and then tied it all off with an Evening Evergreen bow. And I love that card as well. Next up, we have, this one comes from Best Year, which is again another stamp set that I encouraged you to consider because it's just so fabulous. It also has a Christmas sentiment in it that you can use, and I used the Warm Wishes for a Happy Christmas. This is the card where I stamped it in Versamark ink and then heat embossed it with clear embossing powder, and then I used my blender brush in Pear Pizzazz and Evening Evergreen. I think it was, no, it wasn't Evening Evergreen. It was Garden Green in the middle. And then this ribbon is the Old Olive and Peacock. What was it? Pretty Peacock. It's in the annual catalog. And again, the gems, I just colored them in using my alcohol blends markers to make them the color that I want. So that is Christmas in a Study of Greens. So I think that card is really nice and elegant. And then this is one of our punches, and stamped it in the Garden Green as well. So that's that one. And then last but not least, this one was probably my very favorite, and this is the one where I stamped it in Versamark and then embossed it in gold embossing powder and then colored it in using, the way you do that is you squish your lid together, or you use a re-inker and you put a drop in the lid, and then I used a wet paintbrush and colored it in with that. So that's how I did that, and I used 4 different types of green ink pads for that. And then I ended up leaving this one without a sentiment, and I'll tell you why. This year I have someone that I need to send a Christmas card to who lost their husband. Now this is the perfect card to send to them because I don't want to send something that's super cheery that says, hey, Merry Christmas, have a wonderful time, because it's not going to be an easy Christmas for her. But I'm also not going to ignore her, and she needs to know that I'm thinking of her at Christmas. She does not become invisible simply because she lost her husband this year. So I think this is the perfect card to send to her. Again, it is stamped in Versamark and heat embossed in gold powder. I used my alcohol ink markers to color those gemstones and tied a beautiful bow in Evening Evergreen. So here are all of my cards that I made with those 8 backgrounds that I showed you last time. And they're not all going to fit in the screen because I'm zoomed in, believe it or not, but there they are. Again, I think this stamp set is a hidden gem in the catalog, and I think you should consider ordering it. Thank you so much for joining. Bye.